Bobby, a retired NYPD lieutenant, moved to a remote cabin in upstate New York after retiring. His property sat on top of a mountain surrounded by thousands of acres of restricted land owned by New York City for its reservoir system. It was an ideal place for him for hunting, relaxing, and enjoying nature. For 3 years, nothing unusual happened until one spring, when things started to change. After the winter, Bobby returned to open his cabin wanting extra storage. He and a friend built a wooden platform near the tree line and assembled a small shed. It took all day, and by nightfall, they sat by the fire pit, drinking a beer and enjoying the clear night sky. The fire pit sat about 25 feet from the dense woods with a deep drop-off into the forest. At around 1 a.m., Bobby heard what sounded like 2 old women talking in the woods. The problem was, there could not have been anyone out there. This was deep, uninhabited forest, miles from any neighbors. The strange murmuring unsettled him in ways he hadn't felt before. He shined his flashlight in the direction of the noise, and instantly it stopped. He saw nothing. Forcing himself to brush it off, he went to bed, convincing himself it must have been radio interference, though he knew deep down that wasn't the case. The next weekend, he returned with another friend. As they pulled into the driveway, they immediately noticed something was wrong. Giant tree branches were all over the yard near the fire pit, and a massive pine tree stood on the edge of the wood line. It looked like something had climbed it and slid down, taking out branches on the way. The problem, there had been no storms or high winds. Nothing that could explain why the branches had been broken. Bobby didn't say anything to his friend, but his mind was racing. Then he went to check on the new shed. Behind it, 4 small trees had been pushed over. It looked deliberate. That night they sat by the fire again. It was quiet. The only unusual sounds they heard were barn owls and coyotes. He finally started to relax. They went into the cabin to sleep. At around 2 a.m., he woke up to a noise. Lying in bed, he turned his head toward the window. What he saw was a giant head that had walked past. He was petrified. He said, "I was like a child. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't move. I wanted to hide under the covers. Now I'm 47-year-old retired cop with a gun, and I just froze." It was such a crazy feeling. After 5 minutes of sheer terror, he forced himself up, grabbed his gun, and ran to the door. Opened it, and he saw nothing. His bedroom window sat 7 feet off the ground, meaning whatever had passed had to be enormous. His cabin had been built on stilts. The experience has changed him. He knows he'll never look at the woods the same way again.